Life it changes every so often, as people being deep sleeped on board is like an death on board. The Ark of Nowhere is our home, and can offer someone like you Manu funds to build your destiny on the new world. Just trust us as Sisters of the Infinite are on board, and will deliver you to place that makes your future home complete. It's just the people you need to work with on the way to join in and be part of the community. My son Gantu's grandfather is of royal blood. This means we cannot stand against men in the Forbidden City. The new world will have many communities. My younger son needs to see you become a strong leader so he can move away from his brother's leadership shadows. He must become part of the Ark-born children's good leaders. The Forbidden City elders gave the Fifi trickster permission to deep sleep Gantu. The call to let you stay with us was elders' choices only. Gania whispered. Captain Russo, Captain Digo were paid to look the other way. Warden Myers and her husband Bob seem to resent that Zoe-chan has a little more power herself. She is the woman you should be looking at, to win her heart. You couldn't do any better of the Ark. To be the partner and lover of an trickster illusionist. My friendship with Zoe-chan was built on trust, as my daughter Dina. She pretended to be Diana and steal stuff around the Ark for past few months. Zoe-chan is special to us, as Gantu was infatuated with her, and placed me and Dina to associate ourselves with guarana actress. The more Gantu tried to interest her, the more she tried to fight it, and even she found love in Officer Moore. Gantu was going to place unauthorized hit on Officer Moore as his jealousy was getting worse and worse. So Dina, Zoe, and me got together with Gwendolyn and Eddie Rise. They hatched an plan, so Zoe-chan would think she was saving Moore. But Dina was the smart one, as Officer Moore is very attractive man and both Gwendolyn and Dina wanted him as their partner. The trickster illusionist Zoe is helping you, in which you need to rebel, and not work to what she plans for you either as Manu Watu. I believe Officer Moore is good soul of man, and you as well. You just need to decide which woman you want the most. 2. Manu Watu is usually the first to take advantage of situations that let him charm his way to the top. The voyage was getting more and more like some bad prank going too far. Manu, you need to think where your journey was going to take you. The Voyager has plenty of data storage capability. The children were savvy on skills that professional photographers, sound engineers used. The Ark has way of taking advantage on people when they are unhinged, just like Diana. Manu was more labor-intensive person, where he used to go for long runs and travel to places obscure from the common traveler. And Gantu was like the character in the movie The King and I. His feeling to Gantu's mother was not that strong, as the woman seemed to enjoy the stress that others were placing onto him. This Fifi trickster Zoe-chan seemed to be another person on the ship that wanted an peace on Manu, the man feeling like an plaything. The women on board were going to see what a real man could accomplish. Not these silly actor types. Maybe this man Officer Moore could be someone he could call and friend one day. It seems they both had something in common now, the naughty Fifi trickster Zoe-chan and perhaps Dina. And week before he was flogged by Gantu, this woman known as Diana came by the children's section. He was working in the garden section putting away items in the shed. When the officer Diana came into the shed and closed the door, the blindness had not stopped him from guessing what Diana's intention was. As her voice gave it away, she was meant to be helping and team plant the new gardens, when her attention was directed to children laughing. The man she understood to be the indentured worker, playing with the kids and spraying them with an hose. She called over to Manuar, asked him to come over and go into the shed and pick out an watering can. He fumbled his way to the shed and walked into the structure. You could have parked several cars inside. Back on Earth, nice shed. He spoke out to the group but they were out of earshot. The officer he heard walking up to him as he went into the shed. Bam. Like an oversexed lioness she pounced on Manu, and he was in the moment she was telling him to watch the Ark-born children, as they're nasty little shits. Diana placed an hand over Manu's eyes, and she started to talk to him, while she was sexing him. "I think you know what I mean," Diana said. "She'd been duped. They come over as interested in your life as their way into me was, that I have 20 more descendants on board, from when I first started. They do history search on you, and determine how best to approach you. The first time was, when Dina came over, and asked to get me to introduce her to Zo-chan. She brought some little kids, and asked me to hold one. It was such an easy play, as they got my DNA, some hair strands from a baby they asked me to hold, while she went to the bathroom. I patted the baby, as she had wind, and she grabbed hold of some of my hair. Dina came back, and helped to get the baby's hold from my hair, as I had my hair down on one of those rare occasions. I was feeling festive and just came from the bar on level 24,923. I was going back to my quarters, when Dina was there with some children. Later on, my DNA has been turning up all over the ship, in areas where items were stolen. They research into my half-sister, let me in on few things, as she warned me of this. It seems Thia's pocket of deceptions, in time, so they don't get caught, or at least try not to. My life has been turned upside down, as I miss my mother, and she has gone on without me and created a new family around her. Officer Moore didn't want to have children with me on board, and he insisted I go and see a medical personnel about my delusions. Bob Myers prescribed me some tablets, but they could get tampered with, and I'm not delusional. Watch out for Gantu, as he is behind a lot of the mischief on board. He will get you emotionally tied to those kids. And then he will tighten whatever power game he has put together. Nothing is what it seems. The majority of the ARC children are not game-playing Thia genuine people. Dina wanted to be the next Fifi trickster, and Gantu wants his younger brother to be the next leader in several years. Gania, his mother, is not a bad person, but she goes on any made-up plan Gantu puts together. They try to build bridges with you, and then they try to get something out of the mess they put you in. Officer Moore and I are taking a break, but he'll have me back as soon as I find what they're up to next. Manu was type of bloke, who really didn't care what the other person was doing in 6, as long as he felt that his was mutual. She felt good, but he kept it to himself. These Sheilas just don't shut up, do they? He asked can he see her again, and she said probably, and left. Someone on the outside banged on the door, and Officer Diana left with the person who was keeping the children away from the shed. Manu washed himself under the garden shower, as the teens had a quick trigger sarcastic group. Some individuals would notify everyone that they smelled sick. It seems Gantu was quite the ladies' man on board, and so were few of his fellow teens. The little episode in the shed he kept quiet about, till again the Officer Diana tracked him down. Ordered him to carry some stores for her, and Gantu in room nearby came by and told Diana to get lost, as his territory was his alone and not some hotted up officer looking for some sexing. Gania came to Manu and said Diana had reputation of stealing, and she hasn't been caught red-handed yet. But the reputation of Officer Moore's ex-finance was spread across the ship about her not playing fair and wanting stuff from people for free. This was true. Officer Moore was with Warden Myers, Captain Russo and Captain Digo, came into ARC's open space. Defense Force Group were looking for Diana to court-martial her. She had been classed by medical as not fit for duty, as she had not turned up to work. It seemed she was suffering from delusions and promiscuity was part of the illness. Officer Moore caught the naked Diana when Gania found her hiding in the area outside the nesting sleeping section of the ARC's kids. Her cloths could not be found. Other items could not also be recovered, as Shed fed the bio-waste bins with the nest section's beddings, items and personal items. She was about to put herself into the bio-bin chute, when Gantu and some fellow members grabbed hold of her legs and started dragging her to the public dinner gallery. The teens were stopped by Eddie Rise, who placed a jacket on the naked woman, screaming, "Can't you see, Sloopy Loop? Around the twist. Gantu was determined to put her on public display. Gantu kicked Eddie Rise in the chest and stunned the guy for a few seconds. The crowd was around Gantu and Diana when she was apprehended and taken away by Officer Moore in his arms. Gantu decided to make someone pay for the damages, and Manu was the one who was not quick enough to realize something worse was yet to happen. Gantu and several teens under him and some indentured adults came back to the sleeping nest area and told the wet nurses to leave as Manu had come back from the baths with the women. Gantu's brother had run away from the area, as he was left in charge by Gaenia when she asked Manu to help her at the baths. Manu was not happy about his situation, but Gaenia asked Manu to keep quiet for her other son. They took Manu away from where the women were and small children. Tied him to a tree on the Ark's encased container with massive garden where it was signed out of bounds. Gantu left Manu there for a few days and came back and flogged Manu when he had been untied by Gantu's brother. Gantu was about to cut Manus' leg tendons when Gantu's brother screamed, "It's my fault, leave him alone." The noise brought the attention of army personnel, and Gantu threw the knife away. Warden Myers and her people came and picked Manu off the ground, in which no one was there to be accused of who did the whipping. Gantu had thrown the knife away and was hiding with his brother up in a tree. The other teens had ran as far away as the insect harvesting containers. Manu was looking for the knife when he found it and put it under his foot. The children had obviously watched too many movies and the whipping was painful, but Manu could handle the stinging. The warden was obviously up to something, as she took the blunt knife from Manu when no one was looking and hid it in her bag.
Fief and her merry men and women were travelling across the universe. Shakespeare once said, to know or not to know, we're all a bunch of oddball crew members seeming our way to gamble with our ye old fort boards from the rich and bugger the poor. We're keeping the stack for ourselves. Fief and her merry men and women were travelling across the universe. The wary traveller better beware, or Fifi will steal fire smarts for our trickster. Fifi program is fabulous and mad. Put away your silver, put away your marbles and coin. We're making a mad dash across the expanse, filming clips to send back to old Earth.